I have to say I am missing the cars go vroom vroom. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, I didn't realize how much I missed this until it's gone.
It goes on for so long now that when it is gone, you're like, oh, this is what it's like to have my Sundays back.
Exactly. Shall we record episode 3?
Oh, I think so. Welcome back to Stop the Lights with Olivia and Ciaran. As you may have guessed, I'm Olivia.
I'm Ciaran. Hello. How are you? How are you, Olivia?
I'm good. I'm just about recovered from Christmas. How about yourself?
Your tree is still up in your house. That's tragic.
How dare you out me
to
all these people?
You need to be outed. Oh my God.
In my defense.
Middle of January.
In my defense, which Ciaran is kind of like, nah, still that's bullshit. My mother had surgery on the 6th. No, actually not even the 6th, the 4th of January. So I have been acting as nurse to my mother. She had cataract surgery. So I've been doing her drops, making sure she doesn't like bend over and try and pick up things and whatnot. So I just haven't had the time to take down the tree because I've been busy trying to mind a woman whose age I will not out on this podcast, who is acting like a bold child because she wouldn't do what she was told. Or she would, but in like great protest.
Well, you know, all the very best wishes to your mom, because it's a horrible surgery. And I did hear about this surgery before and sent you the clip of Rachel getting her eye drops put in by the entirety of the Friends cast, which I could figure you were doing to her in the most lovable possible way, I'm sure.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. She kept trying to blink as it was being done as well. I'm like, no, it needs to go in your eye, not on your eyelid.
Yeah, not ideal.
No.
Shall we talk about some Formula 1 though?
Yes, I think so, because, you know, in recent days or even in the last week, we've had quite a big announcement when it comes to the Alpine team, which, I don't know about you, I wasn't expecting this, but Jack Doohan, have I pronounced that correctly?
Yes.
All of these new drivers whose names I can't pronounce yet. But he's only been signed on for 6 races.
Why do we think that is? Is that a safety gap that they're going, do you know what? I don't want to go down a whole season route with him and have to pay him off. Maybe we'll just do 6 races. And I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard this being done on like at the start of the season, whatever about someone coming in for 3 or 4 races or
at least just being announced that this is what's happening.
Exactly. But
it may have been happening behind closed doors and we just don't know.
I feel a bit sorry for him.
Big time, because like for it to be made so public, it's like, oh, that's how little faith they have in me that I might even last past the 6 races. And worst of all, the way that this news came out is because Flavio Briatore, who, yes, is back in F1, but we'll get to that in a minute, he basically turned around and goes, oh yes, and we're signing Franco Colapinto as the reserve driver. So all I can think in my head is that if Jack starts doing badly in races, you know, the internet's just going to go crazy, and all you're going to have is him like looking nervously over his shoulder in the car being like, where is he, and we're going to have the Jaws theme of Colapinto coming up behind him.
So what is bad? What does Jack need to do for Colapinto not to take that seat? Because actually Colapinto is more experienced than Jack Doohan. He's been in the Formula 1 car before.
He has.
What does Jack Doohan need to do? Does he need to score points for Alpine every race? Does he need to get into every Q3 session? You know, what's success look like for him in the first 6 races?
That is a good question though, because let's face it, Yuki Tsunoda has done all of that for Red Bull, V-Carb, and did not get the Red Bull seat, whereas Liam Lawson did. So it's kind of hard to tell like what it is that they're going to be measuring things by. But like, in your opinion, what do you think he's going to have to do?
I think he's going to have to score points. I think he's going to have to score not even just 1 or 2 points. He's going to need to score points and be consistent. Consistency is what's going to keep him in that seat. That's the only thing. Nothing else is going to keep him in it.
But considering Alpine have not really performed very well, and yes, they did kind of pick it up towards the end of the year. They did score a double podium towards the end of the season last year. But overall, they kind of were a bit crap. So if you don't have the car underneath you, how are they then going to measure it if neither driver is getting into the points?
Keeping the car on the track though as well. You know, I know that sounds a little bit disingenuous, but honestly, not crashing the car in any session, you know, practice, qualifying or the race, don't crash it at all. You know, don't cost the team any money, don't crash your car and just keep the car on the track. And I think that's probably a main thing that they're going to be looking from him, I suppose. But I do think he's going to have to score some points, because Colapinto will be knocking on the door going, hello,
I'm here,
I can do this, I've done this before. That Williams car wasn't a bad car either, tailed off towards the end of the year, to be fair, but Albon got great drives out of that car. So yeah, no, I feel really sorry for him. I really, really do.
I think it's a bit of a slap in the face. Like, before he's even been able to get into the Alpine to see what he can do, there's already all of this talk that he's going to be replaced after 6 races, which now, who knows? Maybe this was the plan. Maybe the plan was always that he's like, I'm signing on for 6 races and then I'm going to go off and do something else. And then maybe I might get a drive in a better car next year. But for what we know is that, you know, this was his plan for his entry into Formula One. And it's kind of been a bit of a poison chalice now. I think, you know, you may disagree with me on this, but I think for a lot of people what was even more surprising than this news is the fact that it did come from Flavio Briatore, who famously had a lifetime ban from Formula One. And then everyone's kind of like, hang on a minute, what the hell is he doing with Alpine, who were famously Renault, who were famously Benetton before that, all of whom were, you know, run by Flavio Briatore.
Flavio is back. This was one of the biggest scandals that ever rocked Formula One.
Hang on. I think we need to go into the scandal, because there could be people listening to this who were not fans of the sport in and around Crashgate, which I know sounds like such a silly title, but it was literally called that because this whole drama stemmed from a crash. Yep. But for those of you
a very
big crash. So for people who are listening who don't know who Flavio Briatore is, he used to essentially run Renault
into walls. Sorry. That's
oh dear.
Sorry, but he did. Sorry, that's a spoiler on what happened to Crashgate.
Yes, spoiler alert on that. Yes, he used to run Renault, who were called Benetton back in the early 90s. He's actually the person who enticed Michael Schumacher away from Jordan, and then Schumacher went on to win 2 world championships with them.
Eddie Jordan never forgave him for that, to be fair.
Fair. Honestly, very fair. He led the team even through this incident that happened in 2008, which is where Nelson Piquet Jr., aka Max Verstappen's baby's future uncle, and essentially there was a massive accident in Singapore in 2008, and Alonso ended up going on. Was it Alonso? No, Fisichella.
But the strangest thing about the accident is that it happened on the straight, I think, if I can remember, just before the pit lane, and Piquet literally drove his car, he turned the wheel of the car into the wall and created a massive crash. The car nearly split in two. There was the whole front of the car was hanging off, and like, as you're watching it, you just think, oh, something has happened with the car, he's lost the car. I don't think anyone ever thought, oh, he intentionally wanted to put that car in the wall. And then it came out then subsequently later, because Piquet was let go from Renault, a little bit salty, you know, said Briatore ruined his life, ruined his career. Then it all came out. There was FIA hearings. And to be fair...
Well, what came out, Piquet said, is that I was told to crash my car into the wall to ensure that my teammate won the race.
Yes. So you had Pat Simmons as well and Flavio Briatore, the two people involved in this particular scandal. Really, Crashgate. It's such an awful name, but it is exactly what it was.
Yeah, it is. And they were given... Now, I can't remember if Pat was given a lifetime ban, but he is also back in the sport.
Yeah, he was 2013 is actually when he returned to the Renault Formula One family team, I suppose. Yeah.
But Flavio was given a lifetime ban, which was then overturned in 2010. And even then, which this is, I think, what makes it even more comical, because he said that he was deeply distressed by the ban and everything that the FIA had put him through, he was given 15 grand in compensation on top of it. Like, I'm sorry, you told your driver to crash his car intentionally, like potentially also putting him in harm's way, because that crash could have been actually deadly.
Not only him. I mean, you're talking about marshals, you're talking about the possibility of the tyres flying off. Martin Brundle's always got on about the tethers on the tyres. And in fairness, look, they do a very good job. But like, there's a case there that he probably could have been charged with attempted murder. Really, you know, there's that kind of level of this man could have died because of what you asked him to do.
Yeah.
didn't actually ever want to see him back in Formula One. I remember watching, can't even remember what races it was, and seeing him on the grid and Martin Brundle kind of passing him by. And actually, you probably wouldn't even recognise Flavio now at the minute. Actually,
Yeah.
he looks great, to be fair to him, and he's worth about 400 million euro. So he's spent his time well. But yeah, he's back.
He's back.
What are they calling him? Technical advisor or...
Something like
Something
that.
like
Whatever
that.
title they gave him, because he joined in May 2024. So it's not even a case of that he's just been there behind, like, hidden away, which, you know, he may have been up until now. But he was given an official job title, anyways.
Yeah.
And is back in the Formula One fold, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Because, like, yes, not only was he, like, the team principal for so many years, but he was also like managing other drivers, Nelson Piquet being one of them. Nelson Piquet Jr., I should specify. He also managed Mark Webber, Jarno Trulli, Heikki Kovalainen. Like, there's a lot of names in there that you're like, wow, he managed a lot of really popular names.
The thing about Flavio Briatore though is he was like a kingpin in Formula One. You know, he was up there with Ross Brawn. He was up there with John Todd. He was up there with all these amazing people, and then he was just gone. I was glad he was gone. I don't like that he's back, but also, if you think about all the new Formula One fans that there is now because of Drive to Survive, Renault/Alpine, right? They have not been good at all in the whole Drive to Survive era. Daniel Ricciardo went to Renault thinking he was going to win world championships with Renault, and it didn't happen. Like, they changed the name of the team.
Yeah,
like,
to get away from the stank.
and it's not yellow anymore. I miss the yellow. I miss Renault as a team, to be fair. It's kind of why I like Aston Martin a little bit. It's green, you know, it's a proper team, proper British team car name, you know, it's Aston Martin.
Says the Irishman.
I know, but like, I'm a big James Bond fan. If I was doing the lotto tomorrow, I'd be getting an Aston Martin Vanquish, you know. That'd be my favourite car, and I love that green. I'd probably get it in green as well. I digress. So what I'm saying is, people who only watch Drive to Survive think Renault and /Alpine have always been dirt. And they weren't.
No, they weren't. One of my favourite Renault facts actually is back when Kimi Räikkönen left the team to return to Ferrari, and they posted this image of two hares doing the business, and they were like, oh, Kimi leaving, this one hurts. And it basically implying it's like that he'd fucked them essentially. And it was the funniest thing I have ever seen them do. And it was like, as much as we've kind of come to know companies for being kind of a little bit more lighthearted in their social media campaigns, like a lot of the paddock were not happy about this.
That's back when Twitter and X now was a fun place to be, you know, and it was a really lighthearted place to be. That the picture is great. Go and look it up if you can. The two hares are having a great time together. I suppose. Actually, one of them looks like it's having more of a good time than the other one, to be fair. That's probably how it looks.
That's the one behind.
Yeah, the one behind is definitely having a better time than the one on the floor. But yeah, I'm assuming the admin got in trouble for that, but he really shouldn't have. It was great.
Yeah, in hindsight, I think if they'd done something like that nowadays, then...
You know what? It stinks of Paddy Power. Paddy Power would absolutely do something like that. 100%.
Yeah, or Ryanair.
Yes, yes. Ryanair's admin, unbelievable, top tier. You will get roasted if you tweet anything at them. How people still moan about the seat not having a window, I don't know. You know what you're going to get.
I think it's because they know that they're going to get the response. So maybe it's intentional in that sense. Something that you just touched on there that popped into my head with, you know, like Drive to Survive doesn't seem like it has an ending in sight. Do we think that Flavio is now going to be on Drive to Survive? Because, like, imagine if Drive to Survive had existed back when it was the Jean Todt, Flavio, like Ron Dennis era.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if it had been around then. Like, that would have been insane.
I can't imagine Flavio was there. Like, the guy that we don't... Hermit Marco. Right?
Oh, Marco. So
he's not really in Drive to Survive much, right? And from what I'm reading, Flavio's brief seems to be very similar to that.
Fair.
So I can't imagine he is in it. Although, I mean, if you're Netflix, you probably want him in it. You know, as that type of character. Do they go back and touch on anything? Maybe not. I mean, it's still, even though it's Netflix based, you still get a sense that Formula One want to come out well from Drive to Survive. You know, there's I'm assuming there's some sort of editorial meetings that happen, you know, or whatever stories are out, that if something makes Formula One look bad, it's not going to air on Drive to Survive. You know, it's not a documentary. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's not.
It's a documentary, but it's an entertainment documentary series.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is times where they will use out of sync drivers' radios and out of sync shots and stuff, and you kind of go, that's not actually how that happened, but it makes for a better story.
They were doing that less once people started calling them out for it, and they were like, oh wow, these people actually do watch this. So they did do that less in the previous season, because also like Max Verstappen said he didn't want to be a part of it for a while because of the way that they were editing things. So I think they had to prove that they weren't going to do that as much anymore to get him back.
I think, look, I'm looking forward to this season of Drive to Survive. Not as much as I'm looking forward to next season's Drive to Survive. I mean, I know that's weird already, but like, you're gonna you got your Hamilton to Ferrari stuff, which is just going to be, I assume by race number 4, I'm going to be sick of watching all the Hamilton Ferrari vignettes and videos and just everything that Ferrari are going to post out. I mean, we're going to talk about it a little bit later on, but they're going to put Lewis Hamilton out in a Ferrari in a couple of weeks' time for nothing other than let's have some shots of Lewis in red in a Ferrari, I suppose.
Yeah, and actually there's a couple of things that are going on at the moment, because like all the drivers are now kind of back into training mode. Like Fernando Alonso had that picture, which his neck looks insane in that picture, but of course you do need a strong neck to survive in those Formula 1 cars and the G-force.
It's such a good picture. Is it like one of those exercise balls or a medicine ball that he has?
That's what it looks like,
on the side, and he's pressing it up against the wall. But it's not even that he's pressing it up against the wall. It's when you actually look at his neck and his veins, and the actual muscles in his neck are incredible.
Yeah, everyone's going absolutely crazy for that. And
it's a great picture.
Fun fact as well. You know the way we were talking about how Flavio used to manage like all of these other drivers? Our listeners may correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've had two drivers on the grid where one driver is the manager of the other, because Alonso is actually the manager of Bortoleto, the new Sauber driver.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
What happens if they're going wheel to wheel?
Alonso's going to show him who's boss.
I think he probably will. Jeepers.
He probably will. But yes, other things that are going on, as we touching it there, Lewis is having his first day in Ferrari very soon, and then we've also seen Carlos Sainz have his first day in Williams.
They tweeted a lovely picture of him outside the Williams headquarters with the Williams blue backdrop and everything, and he looks delighted. Like he does. He looks delighted. I think he just only 20 people get to drive these cars, and I think he realizes he's still one of the lucky ones. And we talked about it before, you know, I could see him very easily finding his way back to Ferrari.
Yes, I did predict that as well. I think if Lewis goes in the next 2 years, then I think Sainz could be going back there. But he is now only the 4th driver to have driven for, is it McLaren, Williams and Ferrari?
Yeah, that is actually, that's an incredible stat. They're big teams as well.
Yeah,
giant teams. Carlos Sainz is a great Formula 1 driver. I think we probably forgot about that at the start of last season, you know, when the whole
announcement came out. Yeah,
but he proved it week in and week out that he is a good Formula 1 driver.
You've already touched on it there with the Lewis is going to be in red, but there's been a lot of talk of what shade of red is it going to be, and you had sent me a message to be like, there's rumors it's going to be darker. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But then you
made it very clear how you felt about it. Let me say, I was taken aback by the tone of her message. Oh, my Lord.
Let me explain.
You need to.
So basically, I'd gone on to I hadn't seen anything or heard anything about it. I'd gone on to the Ferrari website, or not even the website, the social media. I noticed that they'd posted a bunch of things with a certain shade of red. So like the dressing room, where people were going crazy that Charles Leclerc was top dog on the menu there. And I'm like, why are you surprised? Then there was also the birthday cake for Lewis was a certain shade of red, the same shade that was on that dressing room door. Then we also had there was like a table or something as well. So there's been a couple of clues, and everyone is saying that this is the shade of red. So I sent it to you and said, if this is the shade of red they're going for, I actually don't mind it. Essentially, what did you reply?
I think I replied it's still too dark for me, and got what could only be described as a tirade of abuse from
Oh,
you.
Tirade? It was a single sentence.
It was enough in the sentence that scared me. It was like, I know you enjoy luminous colours like papaya. Not everything has to be a luminous colours is essentially what you said.
Yes.
But there was no like, there was no like winky face or smiley emoji or haha or LOL at the end, which would generally people would put to say content tone of things. There was nothing in that from her, and I just sent back retract those claws.
Yeah, so it's essentially I hadn't intended it being so shady. In my head I was like, look, I know you like the papaya colours, but nothing needs to, like, not everything needs to be a luminous. I meant it as nonchalantly as that, but reading back on it after you sent that message, I went, oh yeah, Jesus, that was a little bit shady, wasn't it?
I don't like this rumoured red shade. It's more of a matte finish than a gloss finish by the looks of things.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big matte finish fan of cars. I like when they're a little bit more glossy. And I actually think Ferrari should be red, not dark red.
To me, I think this is red.
We have to wait and see, because I could be, annoyed for no reason.
To me, it looks like a colour that they've used in the past. So because I don't have the same aversion to Ferrari that you do. So I think maybe that's why I'm a little bit more, actually they've done that before. It looked great. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, when it hits the light, that's when we're going to really know. It's one of those things of, until we actually see it, you're not really going to know. And also they've just been kind of like maybe we could be totally wrong. They could just be like trolling everybody as well, which I think is kind of hilarious.
Hopefully not. Like, because I really want to hate their car. Is that unfair?
Just a little bit. But you don't have much longer to wait. We only have, what is it, a month away-ish?
So Bahrain testing is like the 27th, 28th of February. Those kind of 3 days at the end of the month. We probably will get to see the liveries, though, a week or 2 weeks before then. A couple of teams have announced when they're going to do their livery reveal. There is that massive one, of course, in the O2 in London on the 18th of February, where all 10 teams and all 20 drivers are going to be there, and we're going to see all the cars and the liveries. Of course, Max Verstappen has said it won't be the actual cars, probably just the actual livery, but that's fine. And looking forward to that event, seeing what's going to happen there. And we're getting a Williams livery though on the Valentine's Day. They're doing a little bit of love with Williams there on the 14th of February. Then a couple of other teams as well have said they're going to do some separate things. Red Bull did say they're doing something on the 18th of February. Don't know whether that's going to be separate to the actual one in the O2. Their one seems to be in the O2 as well, so I'm assuming it's just the same one. They just kind of sent out a release about it. And then we have Ferrari going to do something on the 19th. So look, we get to see a couple of different things, which is nice. Yeah,
and I'm kind of wondering, like, with the 19th being the Ferrari day for a reveal of sorts, like, what is it? Just the livery that they're revealing? Then what are they going to show at the event? Or are they going to show the livery at the event and then the actual car on the 19th?
And this event, right, is it just going to be the same thing by 10? That is a very good question. You know what I mean? Like, are we just going to be on the stage and the car is going to be revealed? They're going to have a couple of questions and that's it. Like, I kind of like the ridiculousness that you get from each individual team's launches.
Yeah, and I suppose like they each then have more time to do their own thing then with it.
Yeah, you do. I think the one of my favorite Red Bull one was when Daniel Ricciardo was there. And it's really weird because they don't normally have the third driver.
Yeah.
And he was there and he was doing so many interviews and stuff. And you're going, wow, they're really just milking this for the fact that it's Daniel Ricciardo. And I kind of felt bad for him a little bit, to be fair, because he was just there and he was doing all the press, all the media, and he was doing like all the, the night before Formula One races, they have a setup in like the fan village and they'll bring drivers out on stage.
Yep.
Like, he was there. Like, there was 3 Red Bull drivers for pretty much that entire time.
Oh yeah, because he wasn't at every single race, but for the ones that he was at, like, there were bigger cheers for him, but that's because he's so beloved.
Yeah,
I'm still very sad that he's not going to be around now.
He won't. He is gone now, I think, to be fair.
No, he even said it. Someone asked him would he drive for Cadillac. Yeah, Cadillac. They asked him would he drive for Cadillac, and he was just like, nah.
He looks good in a cowboy hat, as our Daniel Ricciardo, though, to be fair. Do you remember on the horse?
Yes, Horsey McHorsey.
Was that Austin?
It was Austin.
Yeah. One of the other things that I really like is the Formula One driver numbers. They have been confirmed for 2025. I think we all knew that Lewis Hamilton was going to be 44 at Ferrari. And that is the case. And that was the leading story, actually, pretty much out of the driver numbers.
It was, which I thought was really funny because I'm like, the driver always keeps his number. The only time the driver will change his number is that if he becomes world champion, he gets the option. It's not a forced thing. He gets the option to use the number 1.
Would you, if you won the world championship, would you take number 1?
Fuck yeah. Who in their right mind wouldn't? You drive around with a big number 1 just to be like, nah. Of course I'm going to be number 1.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether did Hamilton change to 1 when he was world champion?
Yes.
He did, yeah. I couldn't remember if he did.
Pretty sure he did.
I can't remember. I'd have to go and check.
No, but it was so long ago now.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
You kind of set me up for that.
I knew you were going to say that.
So,
bring us through some other the other kind of, because there's some interesting driver numbers.
There are. So, like, of course, we've got like Verstappen and Norris. They're 1 and 4, and I'd say they're likely to be the two that are vying for the championship now, or at least they're the favourites currently to be vying for the championship next year. Some people are still kind of tipping for Hamilton.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you throwing Hamilton in there? Are you throwing Leclerc in there at all? No, this is crazy now. At the start, the season not even starting. You're riding. So I'm
basing that on actual emails I've gotten in from the likes of Lad Brooks and Paddy Power and things like that, and the majority of them seem to just be saying, yes, always bet responsibly. They just seem to be having those two as like the top two sort of thing. So that's not, I haven't made an opinion yet because I haven't seen the cars yet. I always wait until testing to make a prediction.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Norris challenge for the championship, but I just don't think we can write off Ferrari just yet.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was interesting, so for all of, like, we've got a number of rookies coming in this season, but Bortoleto,
stunning pronunciation again.
Thank you. He's gone for number 5, which was famously Vettel's number. And after there was so much talk of a potential Vettel return to the sport, he's kind of just went, well, you're not taking your number if you do come back.
Yeah, he's not. Well, no, because he has it now. But I think they'd have to ask him to give it up as well if he did ever come back. When I liked the one though that Doohan picked, and I might not get to see it for very long. But Raikkonen's past number 7. He must have been a Raikkonen fan.
Has to have been.
So I know, for example, Hamilton's 44 was his karting number, and I think Russell's 63. Right. So some of those higher numbers come from their time in karting or their first ever driver numbers. So look, Formula 1 drivers are superstitious animals at the best of times, so that's kind of where that comes from. But I wonder if Doohan was a big Kimi Raikkonen fan, or is Bortoleto, was he a big Vettel fan? Like, are they like, do they want numbers that they seen when they were growing up, their favorite drivers racing in? I wonder if that's a thing. Like, if you watch football and you're a winger, and you're a Man United fan, you want to wear number 7. Exactly, 100%. That exact kind
Even
of thing.
I know that.
Look at you. You're in my head.
Well, then you'd have to wonder then, with that theory, does Hajar, was he a fan of Rosberg or Latifi? Because they both had the same number, which is 6, which is also interesting that we've got the 3 of the rookies that are 5, 6 and 7 actually.
Yeah, that is, and for 8 you've got like 4, 5, 6 and 7 now because Norris is there too.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the driver numbers? I really like them. Should it be 1 to 20?
I think from a merchandising point of view, it makes sense for the driver to be able to keep their number aside from the number 1 spot, because then it just means that you don't have to keep, if fans don't want to have to keep buying a new shirt every single year, you can just keep the same one, because it used to be a case of whoever won the... Oh, now actually there's a question. Was it a case of it was done by the constructors, or was it done by the whoever became champion and that team got... Well, usually whoever became world champion, the constructors were the same.
I don't know the answers for that actually.
Maybe our listeners will help us with that. But anyways, it used to be a case of it was done by teams. If you were the world champion, you got the number 1 and then your teammate got the number 2, no matter where they actually finished in the running order of the previous championship. And then for the next constructors, they were 3 and 4 depending on where they finished points wise, and so on and so forth. So they changed every single year. So the numbers on the cars changed every single year for the most part. Whereas now they get to keep their numbers. So there's a bit more consistency, and you'll be able to kind of like spot from the first race who's who as well, just by looking at the number. So I personally like it, but I do know that there are some people who miss the old ways.
Yeah, the old 1 to 20. Look, I don't mind it. It's the same as like football shirts and rugby and stuff. Rugby is probably one of the only sports that you're still lining up 1 to 15 in, and the actual numbers are 1 to 15. Whereas in soccer, obviously every person is given a number at the start of the season. Yeah, I don't mind it. I did want to buy some Formula 1 merch. Went on to Formula1shop.com. 50% sale. I was like, oh, might get some cheap merch here. No.
Even with the 50%
Even
off.
with the 50% off. And I did notice there is still some Van Dorn McLaren merchandise.
No way.
Not even that cheap. €30 for a t-shirt. And I was like, seriously, who's going to actually buy this? This is like this years since Van Dorn raced.
I was going to say
for
no
McLaren.
shade to Van Dorn.
No, absolutely not. But seriously, please fix your merchandise, Formula One.
They're still trying to get rid of.
I can't afford it. Please.
What number would you choose if you were a Formula One driver?
So I do like the aesthetic look of numbers. Mm-hmm. So I like 99.
Oh.
I like that. I don't
Adrian
mind.
Suttle fan?
No, I just like how 99 looks. I have to say, the NFL have recently brought in that you can have a 00 as your number.
Oh.
Which is a little silly because technically that's not a number. Like it doesn't do anything. Like it's nothing. But I like how that looks.
Double nothing.
Yeah, but I like how that looks. 00 looks good. Like an 88 wouldn't be a bad one either. A 66. I kind of like that. 66 is a good kind of number,
How dare you?
Sorry,
66
I know.
was
This
number.
This was your number too.
Well, actually, I was 66 but like Hulkenberg has my number, which is 27.
What number was Herbie in that movie? 80? Was he 80? Was Herbie 80?
I don't know. I never watched Herbie. It was shite.
What? Come on. Herbie's a good movie.
No.
You've never watched... Did you watch even the Lindsay Lohan one?
No, that's the only one I knew existed.
There's older ones as well. You need to get onto the Herbie wagon. That's great.
I'm all right, thanks.
For God's sake.
I have enough... for someone who writes about movies for a living, I have enough movies to be watching than go on back to bloody Herbie Fully Loaded.
Well, look at you knowing the full title as well. It's good.
It's as if I'm good at my job.
I like the driver numbers, and I don't mind them. And actually, if looking at all the Ferrari merch for Hamilton 44, there is no shortage of people who like the driver numbers too. Actually, they did reveal the sprint locations for 2025.
Oh, they did, yes.
We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I think the sprints should be more. I love a sprint weekend. I love the practice sessions disappearing. I love only having the one practice session, and then every other session actually means something. So you're going to get a sprint not until China. So you won in China, one in the Miami Grand Prix in the USA, Belgium, then in USA in Austin, Brazil and Qatar as well in November. Now, the fact that there's 2 in the USA speaks volumes as to what the sprint is about, because it is about keeping people with shorter attention spans. No shade on America, right? But that's exactly why there is a sprint race in 2 out of the... Is there 3 US Grand Prix now with
3,
Vegas,
yeah.
and then 1 in Canada, obviously?
Well, Canada counts as North America,
yeah.
But you've got Miami, Austin, and Las Vegas. They'd be the 3 USA ones.
So, but yeah, do you not like the sprint? Are you kind of
No, I'm kind of old school.
Wow.
I preferred it having it set kind of like this. Saturday is your qualifying day, and Sunday is your race day. I think adding the sprint into it, people are then seeing results and being just like, some people have actually just seen the sprint and then been like, oh, well, then I don't need to watch the race. So like, I do think that even people who aren't like passive fans, they're actually more involved. I think sometimes it's just not described or explained very clearly that this is qualifying for the sprint. They just keep calling it qualifying. So I think if they really want to make sure that people know what's actually happening, they're going to need to really hammer it home.
They call it sprint qualifying, don't they?
Halfway through, they'll just start calling it qualifying. So if you just happen to turn, like if you're late in, you turn on the TV, all you're going to hear is qualifying. You're like, oh, feck, I'm after missing qualifying.
No. Yeah, so that they should call it SQ1, SQ2, SQ3. I just love having an extra race. I'm all about, pretty much like Martin Brundle, get the cars on the track and let them race. Why not?
Which is fair, but yeah, I just maybe it's just because when my live race weekend experience was just like the old school, and I'm in Monza, it was just kind of nice that we had all of the free practice sessions one of the days, then we had the qualifying on the other day, and we had the race on the last day. It was just nice.
You're going to have to just go and experience a sprint weekend, and then you can compare.
I suppose. If anyone wants to sponsor me to go to a sprint, let me know.
Just you. I won't fair.
You can pitch your own. But look, we have a lot coming up. So
it's actually going to get really busy now, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Really
we're going to have
now.
testing. We're going to have, of course, Lewis Hamilton's first day, which, like as you said, is probably going to be live streamed. That's going to be either, I think the rumor is like the 20th or 21st or something like that. So we've got that to look forward to. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of video and press and memes going around after that.
Yeah, and then we're not too far away from that launch date of all the cars in the O2, which is an unprecedented event for Formula One. They're doing a massive event there. Looking forward to seeing what that is like. Hopefully there is a live stream element of that throughout the whole thing. You can just watch the whole thing. But again, hopefully it's not just boring of 10 the exact same thing over and over again. But looking forward to that. And look, and we're not going to be too far away from lights out, really. And you're talking about the first race in Australia. So
when you think about it, we're already halfway through January. So as much as people say that January goes slow, it's kind of flying by already.
It is absolutely flying by. And look, everybody's back in the factories now. Drivers are starting to go back into their new teams. I'm sure
there's going to be some more drama to come.
I was just going to say, I'm looking forward to any more driver drama even before. I mean, one of the best things that ever happened was when Mercedes unveiled their car. They'd no side pods a couple of years ago. So that was, but they turned up to the first race and they were like, that's not the car you unveiled. Where's your side pod? So I'm like, anything can really happen. Anything
can happen. Will the Verstappen and Russell feud be reignited?
Do you know, I think it's probably put to bed. Now maybe when they kind of see each other again, but you're kind of hoping that they qualify close to each other so they have to do the press conference together. That's kind of what you're hoping for, because the mix-on stuff will all be done and they're all, they've handlers there and they're never going to really see each other. But if they qualify together or if they're on the podium together, they have to do the press conference together. So that's where sparks could potentially fly again. It does look like, though, the driver dinner probably put things to bed, even though they, he took a chair and went down the other end of the room. I'm sure it's kind of over and done with now behind closed doors.
But I think the fact also that all of the drivers were in on that and Russell was the last to arrive. I think also, like, Max was clearly already just like, I don't care anymore. Sit next to me.
Yeah.
And I think maybe Russell could speak out in the meantime and say that we're totally wrong. But maybe he kind of then realizes, like, oh, well, if everyone's kind of like taking the piss out of it, then like we should just leave it be.
Yeah, exactly. I think it probably is done. But look, it was one of the nice little tidbits at the end of the 2024 season, to be fair. I enjoyed it immensely.
Well, Ciaran, thank you so much again for nattering away about Formula One with me.
I do forget how much I love just talking about Formula One and talking about, like, we spent like 5 minutes talking about numbers of drivers.
That is how much we are nerds about Formula One, guys.
We really are. Big news, though, the Flavio Briatore thing was a massive story. And he's back, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, we're going to be back in 2 weeks' time. We will promise.
Hopefully.
Promise it'll be 2 weeks' time. When Olivia makes herself available again, I suppose that's the most important thing, God
Can't
love her.
help it, I'm popular.
She's very busy. She just spends her day in her house just building Lego.
And you spend all your days watching Wicked.
True story. Yes, you've called me out there, and I think I'm up to maybe 7.5 times now I've seen the Wicked movie. So 3 in the cinema and 4.5 at home.
Oh my God! Stop the podcast now. I'm done. Thanks.
Is that not your opportunity to say stop the lights?
Tune in next time on Stop the Lights, where Olivia may have murdered Ciaran. No, in all seriousness, do tune in next time. You can follow us on Instagram at Stop the Lights Pod. If you have any comments or fun facts or just things you want to share, please do message us. The message inbox is open, and you will find us wherever you get your podcasts. Hopefully, and if one of them isn't working, please do also let us know so we can try and fix that. But yeah, for now, I've been Olivia.
I'm Ciaran. Thank you very much.